You know what? It's holiday weekend. Everybody's busy, tired. We're just going to do a 5-minute sermon here today. Today's sermon's about lying. Oh, you guys didn't get as good as the first one did. Yeah. We're not doing a 5-minute sermon, sorry. In fact, I might actually double it up here because we're going to handle 2 commandments today in one. I'll try to keep it in order here. So we're coming into the home stretch of God's top 10 list. So we have the 8th and the 9th commandments: thou shalt not steal, do not lie or bear false witness. These are kind of the meat and potatoes of kind of our moral code. We get these of going, everyone understands this. Like, if you've been to kindergarten, you've been taught, don't take other kids' toys, right? You shouldn't lie. You should always tell the truth. Yeah, we got it. Like, these are kind of the low-level things, maybe even the foundational things. We've already gone through the heavy hitters these past weeks of going, do not murder, do not commit adultery. Like, we're like, whoa, those are like way big time stuff. This stuff it can be big, but this is foundational things, basic things, and we understand that. We all get it. No one wants their stuff taken. No one wants to be lied to. And yet, what we have here really is a very complex social system among us, because we all lie. And in different ways, we have stolen. You might go like, I haven't taken anybody's stuff, but stealing is actually kind of a complex idea and has a lot of different dimensions to it. And so what we have here is we have certain agreements among one another, particularly with lying there, of going, okay, we all kind of tell lies. We have this sophisticated level of going, well, we know the really big lies. Those are really bad. But we've got, white lies. We got fibs. We got all these different kind of nuanced things of where it's like, okay, you know what? It's all right if I don't tell exactly the truth because, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe it's a little bit better for me, or it gets me out of an awkward position. And we have this very sophisticated thing. You know that you lie. I know you lie. You know that I lie at these different types of spots here, right? We're not talking about just the outright lies, but this very complex scheme, right? It's a social system that we have, and we give each other grace for it, and we kind of like, yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway. You're going to give me a little bit of leeway. So, while we kind of go, hey, this is a slam dunk, we are peculiar people. Human beings are weird things. And we've got different ways of kind of handling this. Now, I don't want to get down into all the weeds here of this as much as what I want to do is I just kind of want to unpack these two from very much a God perspective, right out of the Bible type of a thing. Many people would recognize this as coming from Exodus 20. That's the Great Commandments. Moses has the 2 tablets. It's part of the whole narrative thing, and we get it. They made a movie about it. It's really great. But that list actually shows up a couple other times in the Old Testament, in those early books. So there's another list in Deuteronomy, if you're familiar with that. And it looks pretty similar to the one that's in Exodus. But then it shows up again in the book of Leviticus, which I know you all are very familiar with. These are the jokes, folks, here. Nobody in here has read Leviticus. Like, if you've been one of those people that were like, I'm going to read through the Bible, if you can make it past the desert of genealogies and you actually make it to Leviticus, you're like, what in the world's going on? It's all this high ritual stuff, things that are bizarre and we don't get. And we're like, what do we do with it? I've just given up on this whole project. Why am I reading the Bible? It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, Leviticus is hard. It's hard for Bible people to really handle it. But smack dab right in the middle of this thing, like an oasis, is chapter 19. Chapter 19 is known as the holiness chapter, and it's the Levitical version of these 10 commandments. But they don't just simply do the 10 list like Exodus and Deuteronomy. It kind of gives commentary. It goes, I want to expand this. In the midst of all this ritual, let's kind of get down to what real life is and what God is requiring of us. It's this really beautiful chapter. I recommend that you go and just skip the rest of Leviticus, but read chapter 19. It's worth it. So we're going to look at it from that perspective here, because anyone can read Exodus and go, do not steal, do not lie, and we're left on our own kind of what to do with that. Leviticus unpacks it. So let's take a look at this. So in Leviticus 19, starting in verse 11, there's other stuff in there. It's not just this list. We have these commandments. Do not steal, do not lie. Now, I'm going to go and I'm going to show you the next several verses. We're not reading them right here, right now. We're going to unpack this, but I just want you to see of going, they have the two lists, but then they're going to go through all these different scenarios, kind of exploring, okay, well, what does this mean? What are the nuances of this? What's going on here? And so what we really have is like Leviticus 19 is setting this up of going, look, we have two buckets. God's telling us, don't steal, don't lie, but now it's going to go through these scenarios, and our job is to kind of put it into the right bucket. You with me? Okay, let's go through it here. All right, so we got that verse. The next verse is, do not deceive one another. And you're like, well, isn't that lying? Talk to a teenager, right? They could do a master's class on this. Of go, well, I didn't lie. I didn't say anything that's untrue. And yet, deception has happened, right? There is a huge difference between just simply this technical do not lie, do not tell an untruth, and deception. And the Bible is penetrating down into this of going, oh, don't play the technical game with God. He gets it. He understands really what, this isn't just about what's false and what's true. This is really about deception between us. And so we can do a whole list of things of going, maybe it's, I only give a half a truth and lead you to believe something. Maybe I just stay silent and I let you believe something and I don't correct it. Like there's just a multitude of ways that we do this. But at the very foundation of do not lie is this idea of going, are we deceiving one another? This is very personal. This is one-on-one. And we know it. We know it. We use it. All right? Next verse goes, do not swear falsely by my name and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. So the first one was a personal thing. Now he's kind of upping the ante of going, okay, this is a big deal one. This is where you would swear, I'm making a huge claim. I'm not just shading something, but I'm making a huge claim. I'm like, you can count on me. You can do this, whatever. And he goes, if you swear falsely by that, especially by my name, oh, God's not happy about that. He's like, there's no room for this. We get this one. Lying includes the big statements, the outright promises that we make and such claims. They're going, that's out. All right, so we got personal, we got that. Now we switch to the other side. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Looks pretty similar to do not steal, right? But you get down to the nitty-gritty of going, this isn't simply of going, look, I borrowed my neighbor's shovel. I didn't return it. I kind of stole it. I didn't really steal it. I'm just doing a long-term borrowing of it, all that type of stuff. By using the word defraud, this is really getting down to the nitty-gritty of going, do you run your relationships and your transactions of going, I make sure I win, and maybe they have to lose. And if the more I win, the better off it is. If they happen to win, that's fine. But if they've got to lose for me to win, look, buddy, I'm out for myself. That's what's really behind this idea of defraud. Do you operate in this way of going, you know what? I'm in it for myself. And if I can work a situation where I win and you lose, that's just fine. God goes, no, it's not. That's part of stealing. That's part of diminishing someone else for your gain. That belongs in the bucket of do not steal. We may not even be talking about something of going like, hey, I took their crayon box. It's just an imbalance. I win and they lose. Very personal. All right, next line is, do not hold back the wages of a hired worker overnight. All right, so this is for our business people here. You need to pay your workers every night, because that's the biblical way. Is that right? Is that how we should interpret the Bible? Come on, we gotta have a more robust way of understanding the Bible, right? We put things into context. The Bible may say something, but we've got to understand the context. We don't mean that. That's not what it is. This is common for that day. They would have day laborers. And so those people would be living hand to mouth. And it was expected that if I gave you a day of work, I got money that day so I could stop at the grocery store and pick up a pizza on the way home for my family, right? This is the way that we're going to eat. This is the way we're going to survive so I can come back next day. And so what God's saying here is going, if someone has given you work, you cannot withhold this. This isn't about stealing and taking something. This is about withholding something. Do you see how sophisticated this is getting? So if we said in 21st, or make sure they get their paycheck every 2 weeks or every whatever our expectation is. If someone has given you something and you owe them, it is stealing for you to withhold that. A little bit different nuance there. We got personal, we got business. And then they go to this next one. Do not pervert justice. Now, at first, this doesn't quite look like stealing. He's changing topics, but he's not. When you pervert justice, when you have two people that are in a dispute and going, hey, this is something's unfair, and you decide for one unfairly, you are robbing the other person of a settlement. So the Bible is clearly putting this type of justice in the steal bucket because it's a matter of who's going to win and who's going to lose. Do not pervert justice. Do not make decisions that are unfair. Now, the beauty of this particular verse is the next part. Do not show partiality to the poor. Whoa. A lot of people read the Bible and they find poor getting God being partial for the poor all over the place. And here we have in Leviticus 19, he's going, when you are judging justly, you are not to be partial to the poor. But you are not to show favoritism to the great, the powerful, the rich either. Justice is not about taking a side. Justice is about seeing it fairly and seeing it correctly and bringing that down. This is the way that we have a good society. Judge your neighbor fairly. If you pick a side, if you are biased, you are stealing from someone. You are robbing them of justice. That's how the Bible sees it. All right, one last verse here in this list. Goes back to do not lie. It says, do not go about spreading slander among the people. How about that? Do not go about spreading slander. Slander is a big topic in the Bible, particularly as you come into the New Testament. Jesus speaks on it. Half of the letters to the early churches speak on this issue. Like, this is a predominant issue. Do you know why? Because those early Christians, they were terrible people. They were awful. They had big, mouthy people. In fact, I heard, oh wait, I better stop there. Deep in the Christian tradition, going all the way back to the Old Testament, is this idea of going, slander is not part of our character. We watch our mouths. And where Leviticus 19 puts this isn't just about being nice or being kind. This is actually about lying. How you speak about another really matters to God. In fact, if we put this in the 21st century, it'd be, do not go about spreading slander among your people. Use Facebook. Actually, probably the 21st century is watch your mouth, right? Watch how you talk about people. God cares about that. That's not throwaway stuff. In the New Testament and the Old Testament. So here we go. So we've got Leviticus 19. Look at all these categories. Very sophisticated, isn't it? Don't tell me the Bible is this kind of simplistic thing. It's not. And these are just examples of going, boy, we could sort down through all these fine-tuning things, and stealing and lying have a bit of complexity to them. I'm not interested in trying to get into those weeds, but I just want you to see that the Bible goes, this is bigger than just simply don't tell an untruth and don't take your neighbor's shovel. This really matters to God. In fact, what we find here in these two is we have additional commentary in Proverbs. God apparently really likes lists because he's got this other list. The 6 and 7 things God hates. Look at this. It says there are 6 things that God hates, 7 that are detestable to him. So, they kind of like make him nauseous, make him want to throw up in his mouth. How about this list? Prideful eyes. Yeah, we don't like that. Oh, number 2, a lying tongue. Didn't wait until number 9. He got on number 2 list of the things he hates. Hands that shed innocent blood. Yep, that's a pretty bad thing. A heart that devises wicked schemes. That might have a little bit of stealing nuance in that. Feet that are quick to rush into evil. A false witness who pours out lies. How about that? God made a top 7 list of things he hates, and lying got on there twice. Woo. God takes this pretty seriously, what we say to one another. And then you got to love number 7. God hates a person who stirs up conflict in the community. By golly, there's a sermon in there. We're going to have that someday. We don't have time today. Wow. I wonder if I gave you pieces of paper and said, you know what, write down the things that just kind of really tick God off. Things that, oh man, this is what's wrong with the world. I wonder how many of your 7 would match his 7. What we do see clearly is that he goes, lying is something that God goes, that's not part of my character. I don't want to be part of your character. I stand against that. Be careful. Be careful with this. The other thing that this list means is that if you're going to lie or to steal, go ahead and steal because God hates lying more. No, that's not what that means. Okay. Come on, wake up, folks. This is only a 5-minute sermon. You can hang in there that long. God hates lying because at the very bottom of it, it destroys trust. Right? We've got this complicated system of how we relate to lying and all the nuances that we have and what we allow and what we don't have. We have this calculus that's running in our brain of going, well, this scenario is kind of okay and this will allow me to do this. This avoids that. It's all right. No one's really getting hurt. Or, well, you know what? Someone's losing, but this is okay. And we all have it. We all work with this. There's places where we shade the truth in some way. I'm not talking about, there are the people that just kind of outright lie and they're awful people. That certainly is included here. But we have this place that we do it. But lying at the end destroys trust. Because while we're working with our calculus and going, oh, it's okay, it changes once you get found out. Once you're caught in something, it's never quite the same. Maybe for a very low-level offense, we kind of go, yeah, I'd lie about that too, so you know what, I'm going to let that go. But there's this shaky thing in us that when you find out somebody kind of lied to you or deceived you or misled you, it starts to work on you. It's kind of like what one guy said. He goes, look, I'm not so much mad that you lied to me, but I'm mad that now I don't know what to believe. What is your calculus? We're all figuring it out as we go along, and now suddenly you kind of went a little further than I would have allowed to. When you get to this place of, you lied to me, it changes relationships, doesn't it? No matter how much you may self-justify in your head. And this has different levels of consequence. You lie to a stranger, whatever. No big deal. You lie to a boss, a coworker, a little bit of a bigger deal. You're working with them. You lie to your family. You lie to your spouse, or withhold or deceive, and you are found out. Oh, it changes things. It changes things really quick. Because at the end, we all desire to be spoken to honestly. None of us wants to be deceived. No matter how much we may justify it for ourselves, none of us want to receive a gift that we give. God goes, that's the problem. It destroys trust. This shouldn't be part of your character. And then lying, when it kind of gets down into our lives, it ends up really deceiving ourselves. And this is that slippery slope. Look, the Bible has a bit of a complicated relationship with lying, because there are some lies in the Bible that are going, yeah, that's okay. We're not going to get into that stuff. But there's also this warning of going, the more that you deceive, the more that you kind of in your calculus go, this is okay, be careful. One, you could break a relationship when it's found out. But even if you pull it off, you are in grave danger, right? If your life is built in going, boy, I've always got to kind of remember what's going on, eventually you're going to deceive yourself. Your life is a lie. Mark Twain said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. It's a lot of work to be a good liar. Psychologists go, it's one of the signs of a growing intelligence in a child. Of course they would say that, right? I kind of disagree with them, because, please excuse me, even stupid kids can lie. It's the smart kids that lie and get away with it. Now that's the trick, right? We want to lie and get away with it. When you don't, you're found out. When you do, the end of that road is that you've lied to yourself. It destroys everything. That's why God stands against this. All right, let's bring this into the New Testament. So that's kind of the Old Testament. Like, what does Jesus say about this? We're going to go to Ephesians 4. Paul kind of talks about all this. I'm going to start with a paragraph. We're not breaking down that paragraph, but I just want you to see what the setup is, all right? It's a really powerful, packed paragraph. He goes, now, that, however, is not the way of life you learned. Lying and stealing and doing all that stuff. When you heard about Christ and were taught in him accordance with the truth that is in Jesus, you were taught with regard to your former way of life, all that calculus, all that, this is okay, this is all right, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by the deceitful desires, all that calculus, all that, I can shade here, I can shade there, and I'm watching out for myself. This is just the way the world is. No, that's being corrupted. Instead, because we follow Christ, we are to be made new in the attitude of our minds. We think about things differently. We put on a new self, a self that's created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Paul is blowing up this idea of going, the Ten Commandments are just kind of house rules, these technicalities that God went, don't cross these lines. The Ten Commandments are an expression of God's character, and he's inviting us to step into this, right? A very powerful thing of going, if you are a Christ follower, there is major transformation that is expected. Okay, we got that, the whole paragraph? Now watch this. He goes, therefore, everything I just said makes us do this stuff. That's a powerful and connected word. Watch. Each of you must put off falsehood. Don't lie. Well, I think we've heard that somewhere before, right? And speak truthfully to your neighbor. Like, gee whiz, I thought this Jesus guy was going to come up with some new stuff, right? Come up with his own 10 list. Nope. Paul's going, if you have Christ in your life, you are being transformed to do the 10 Commandments. Don't lie. Speak truthfully, because that's what God does. And that's what he expects of us. Speak truthfully to your neighbor. And then he adds this next layer of going, we're all members of one body. We all belong to Christ. Out in the world, they justified of going, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Yeah, we try to aim to be truthful people, but man, push comes to shove. We're going to lie through our teeth for my benefit. Paul's going, but we're all in Christ together. For this community, we speak truthfully to one another. Lies have no place here. It doesn't mean we have to say everything and tell everybody everything. There's a right place and part for everything. But the falsehood doesn't belong here. It's not consistent with who God is and or who he's making us into being. Got it? All that comes this. Next point. And anyone who's been stealing must steal no longer. For crying out loud. This is the 10 Commandments. Look at this. We haven't gone in. This is 2,000 years later, folks, and he's still saying the same stuff. I thought Jesus would have started something new, but all it means to follow Jesus is to do what God told you to do from the very start. How about it? Stop stealing if you follow Christ. Instead, you must work doing something useful with your own hands. Oh, you Republicans, you missed your one moment to say amen there. Come on. God finally agreed with you once here. You missed your moment. It's over. No, God loves work. He's made us to be productive. He's made us to be useful. That is right and good. Stealing robs you of that, of God's intention for you. It's this last line that's really interesting, though. Because we might go, a way that we justify do not steal is to go, well, my stuff is my stuff. And you don't have a right to my stuff. Don't take my stuff. My stuff belongs to me. It's for me. It's wrong for you to take because it's mine. But Paul justifies this in a different way. He says, no longer steal. You've got to work, not just so you can accumulate things, but so that you might have something to share with those who are in need. Ooh. This is a very different rationale for this moral law. It's not just about materialism and my rights of ownership. It really comes down to, how do I use my stuff? Where does it come from? In fact, that kind of makes me think of Leviticus 19 again. We started out with the 2 rules, right? Do not steal, do not lie, and we looked at the categories after it. But there's a paragraph right before do not steal that I wonder where it belongs to. Let's look at it, right? We've got verse 11, do not steal. But look at what he said right before it. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Don't get every last little drop. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner to come along and pick them up so that they don't starve. I am the Lord. It's out of that context that he then says, do not steal. Look, folks, if we want to be technical here, the people who are stealing are the poor and the foreigner. They're taking stuff off my land. I grew it. And yet God commands them, no, you are to leave that for them to use. You are not to steal, is not to the foreigner and the poor, but to the landowner. They imagine that this place of generosity, or a lack thereof, is stealing. Do you get that? God's against stealing because it dishonors others. And I take your stuff, and I diminish you. I defraud you. I make you lose when I win. I withhold what I owe you. I put you in bad positions. That's what stealing does. But stealing also dishonors God's provision. And this is the twist on this law. A capitalistic, materialistic society would understand it in one way. But from a biblical perspective, we have a radical shift here. To not steal means to recognize what I have and where it comes from. All that I have comes from God. It is provided me as a blessing to provide for me and my family, but also to be generous to others. And if I am not generous, if I hoard to myself, if I only see this is the stuff that I made, this is the stuff that I've gathered, it's mine and you're not allowed to have it, you are actually robbing God. Stealing says, I want to get it myself, and God can't provide for me. Withholding generosity says, all my stuff only belongs to me. Very, very different understanding of that line. Do not steal. It's more complex than you think. Do not lie. You got your calculus. We all do. We know it. And God's warning you, be careful. It's a slippery slope. You start to lead that life and your calculus grows, and suddenly one thing after another is allowed. Or you just simply withhold information and you deceive. And when that trust is broken, it is hard to ever restore that. Be careful. You are to walk in true righteousness and holiness. That's what we're called to. It's always been the place he's called us to. Let's pray. So Lord, these seem easy and simple and kind of the basic kindergarten ABCs, and yet we have to admit how we can twist these around and have so many shades. Even you understand the complexities of how we live these things out. Lord, besides the technicalities, we want to see the bullseye of true righteousness, of being people that speak truthfully to one another, that have no deception, people who don't diminish others, withhold, or keep things for ourselves, but to honor you in everything that we own. I pray that you would renew the attitudes of our mind, shift our thinking, shift our behavior to be more in line with you. Amen. All right. And that's our service for today. Thank you for coming and being part of this. Go out into this crazy upside down world and carry God's truth in the way that you live.